Welcome to Hunger Hormones, Taming Ghrelin and Listening to Leptin. I'm going to talk a little bit about vocabulary today with regard to two hormones that actually control your hunger, and those are ghrelin and leptin. If you've ever thought, I have zero willpower or I just can't stop thinking about food, you're not weak. Your hormones are just running on an unedited script, and today we're going to talk about editing it. If you remember one line this week, remember this: ghrelin is trainable and leptin is repairable. You're not stuck with either of those signals. So, in a few minutes, you'll know exactly how to tell the difference between real hunger and head hunger and what to do with each of them. So, here's the big idea for today: your hunger is not a personality trait, it's a two hormone conversation that you can influence. Ghrelin is your body's eat now signal. It's released by your stomach lining. It rises before meals and peaks about 30 minutes before you usually eat, and then drops sharply once the food arrives. Leptin is your body's you're full, stop signal. It's released from your fat cells, it travels to your brain. When leptin is heard clearly, you naturally stop eating at the right amount. The problem is that constant snacking keeps ghrelin elevated all day, and years of refined carbs makes your brain basically deaf to leptin. That combination is exactly why weight loss always feels like a fight. So the 16-8 fasting protocol trains ghrelin to spike only at lunch and dinner when you're eating, and then the protein heavy, low refined carb eating restores the leptin signal at your brain. These two hormones, these two fixes, are both permanent feeling within weeks, meaning that you feel like you can manage this after a couple of weeks because you have retrained them permanently. Let's do a little comparison. Same body, different hormonal environment. So on the left, we have the chaotic eater. This person eats breakfast at 7, has a cookie at 10, lunch at noon, granola bar at 3, dinner at 7, chips at 9. Ghrelin never really gets to fully drop down, and leptin is drowned out by the insulin from all of the constant refined carbs. So the result is you're hungry within an hour of every meal, thinking about food most of the day, so it's a constant battle. The trained eater in a 16 to 8 window, you have lunch at noon, dinner maybe around 6:30. Ghrelin learns the schedule. So it spikes at 11:45 and 6:15 and pretty much stays quiet in between. And your protein anchored meals trigger those hormones we talked about before, PYY and CCK, which shuts down the ghrelin and there's no rebound for about 4 to 5 hours. So, same person, same body, but different hormonal environment. The trained eater looks like someone who's really disciplined and has a lot of willpower, but they're not. They just gave the hormones a schedule to follow. The key point is, again, it's not about willpower. Willpower is going to run out. You need to train your hormones, and that will get stronger with time. So let's talk about mechanism. Three independent pathways are at work here. Ghrelin trains to your schedule, as I mentioned. It follows a learned rhythm. You eat if you so that if you eat at random times, it's going to spike at random times. But if you eat at consistent times, within about 3 weeks, it locks onto your schedule. Fasting stops feeling like you need to muscle through it and starts feeling like you're just waiting for the bus. You know it's coming. It's on the schedule. Second pathway is leptin, and leptin can be heard again. Chronically high insulin from those refined carbs and all that snacking creates that leptin resistance. We've talked about insulin resistance before, leptin resistance now at your brain. Your fat cells are shouting, we're full, we're full, we're full, but your brain doesn't hear it. Cut out the refined carbs, stabilize the insulin, and your leptin sensitivity will be restored in about 4 to 8 weeks. And then suddenly feeling full feels normal again. And then the third pathway are the satiety peptides, which we've mentioned in other videos. Every protein anchored meal, so high protein, 30 grams or more in the meal, releases PYY and CCK. These are two peptides that suppress that ghrelin rebound for many hours. Carb-only meals, however, barely register in terms of producing these satiety peptides. So this is why that 30 grams of protein per meal keeps you honest until your next meal. So all three of these pathways are built into the program that we use to help people lose weight, number one, and then keep it off long term. Let's use an analogy. Picture your hunger system as an old two-way radio. Ghrelin is the talker. Ghrelin's job is to broadcast, eat now, on a schedule. If you eat all day, Ghrelin broadcasts all day. If you fast in that 16 to 8 window, Ghrelin learns the show times, noon and 6, and goes quiet in between. Leptin is the listener. Leptin's job is to hear, I'm full from your fat cells, and then shut down the broadcast. But when you've got lots of refined carbs, it's jamming the receiver. It's like basically shouting into static. Leptin is shouting into static when it's surrounded by refined carbs. You've eaten enough, you just can't hear it in the brain. Fix the schedule. So the talker calms down, fix the receiver, the listener starts hearing again. You do both, plus your 16 to 8 and protein, the whole system starts cooperating. So old radio, but no new hardware is required. We just got to clean up the signals and schedule the equipment so that it's on a schedule that can be memorized. All right, let's look at some numbers. From some peer-reviewed research, 5 to 10 times, the New England Journal of Medicine measured leptin levels in lean versus obese adults. Obese participants had 5 to 10 times more leptin than lean participants, yet they felt hungrier, not more full. That's the definition of leptin resistance. Your fat cells are shouting the full signal louder than ever, but your brain has stopped hearing it. Fixing this is incredibly important. 10 minutes, the average time a food craving takes to fade if you don't feed it. So real ghrelin hunger comes in waves. It passes and returns on a rhythm. Head hunger fades. 10 minutes with a glass of water is the cleanest field test we have. Just drink a glass of water, 10 minutes, it's going to pass. 1 hour. Showed that ghrelin, this research in 2001 showed that ghrelin starts rising about an hour before your usual mealtime, within an hour. The body is anticipating the food. Remember, it's like waiting for a bus. You're expecting it to come. That's exactly the mechanism the 16-8 exploits. Give ghrelin a consistent schedule for 3 weeks, and this anticipatory rise in ghrelin moves to your schedule, noon and 6, not to random times. Okay, a couple of things. Ghrelin comes in waves, as we've mentioned, so it doesn't pile up. Most people think if they don't eat when they're hungry, their hunger will keep building and building. That's not the case. It doesn't. Ghrelin spikes for 20 to 30 minutes and then falls on its own, even if you don't eat. That's why hunger during a fast keeps passing and you kind of get over it. The wave has crashed. Seeing food can spike ghrelin, just seeing it. The cephalic phase, this is the sight and smell of food, triggers a real measurable release in ghrelin before you even eat a single bite. This is why food ads, cooking videos, and walking past the cookie tray at the office sabotages your fasts. Because your seeing and smelling of the food triggers the ghrelin to make you feel hungry. So managing your environment is not a weakness, it's just how you clean up the physiology. And the last one bad night's sleep messes up both hormones. In a 2004 study, just 2 nights of 4-hour sleep raised ghrelin by 15% and dropped leptin by 18%. 1 bad week of sleep can undo a month of good fasting. So sleep is not optional for hunger control. And that's why with our program, we don't just focus on what are you eating and cutting calories and this, that, and the other thing. We are a holistic weight loss program because we're looking at you as a whole person. It's not just about one thing and how can we get a quick result. If you want a long-lasting result, we have to address all of the particular issues. And sleep plays a big role in managing these hormones. And if you're not getting a good night's sleep, you're not going to be able to manage these hormones well, and you're going to be struggling on this weight loss journey. Okay, so putting it into practice again, you're depending on where you're at in your journey, you're probably already doing some of these things. So lock in that 16 to 8 window. Use the 10-minute rule for cravings. So if a food urge shows up outside your eating window, try not to act. Drink a full glass of water, set a 10-minute timer. If the urge is gone or fading, then it was head hunger. If it's still there, then note it. That's data about your schedule, and we can talk about that. Protein first at both meals, 4 to 6 ounces of lean protein at lunch and dinner, and this is what triggers those satiety hormones, PYY and CCK, to shut down the ghrelin rebound. No grazing between meals. So not just a bite, not just a handful. This is not moderation is okay. That's a lie in many areas of life. Every bite outside your window resets Ghrelin's training clock. So remember, we're training it at noon and 6, and every time you eat any time outside of that, you're training your body to release ghrelin at that new time. So 2 meals, 2 full meals, full stop in between. Now, there are some exceptions with some hypoglycemia issues, so that's customizable. But on day 7, rank your hunger. So ask yourself, is this hunger a stomach thing, ghrelin, or a mood thing? Is it in your head? By the end of the week, the difference should feel obvious, and that awareness is what makes this protocol stick. Okay, so again, if you are on certain medications, have the reactive hypoglycemia, as I mentioned, pregnant breastfeeding, any type of restrictive eating disorders, these are all things we would have walked through with you before you got started, but that creates some things we need to look at with regard to safety and fasting. And then, of course, we've got our references. So thank you for taking a few minutes to listen and learn more about the hunger hormones and how they play a huge role in weight loss, and why their role in weight loss is what causes you to feel like you have no willpower. But they're both fixable, and we talked about how that's possible today. So I hope you have learned a piece that you can use in your journey, and we'll see you next time.